Hello student, in this session what we are going to learn Geography class 10th chapter 2 Forest and the Wildlife Resources. So you have the idea about what is wildlife resources and the forest, which you have learned from the childhood. Since from the childhood we heard many times the forest and the wildlife resources. So let's recall it. Like, what is the forest? The forest is where the wild animals and the number of the animals used to live over there. You will find the different of the forest at the different places. Like here in this chapter, what we have to deal with the what kind of forest we find in the at the which places in the different parts of the India and in the world. If we talk about the wildlife resources, so what kind of animals were there? They used to live. Why we make the biosphere? Why we make the wildlife sanctuaries? If you recall from the class 8th and from the class 7th and also from the class 9th, so we made the wildlife sanctuary to protect the wildlife animals by the extinct, by the extinct. Why? Because why I use the word the extinct? Because nowadays you have the idea, because you have read in the history in the previous classes, you read in the geography that earlier the people were what they thought that we used to do hunting for their pleasure. They used to do the hunting for the pleasures. Then later it become a business. So what the people used to do, they used to hunt the wild animals. They used to sell their skin, their bones, their teeth in the market. So in the you can say the foreign market, their bodies, their blood, their skin, they would sell it at a very higher price. So they do the business for by killing the animals. So later it become a business. So there are the number of animals that they are on the verge of the extinction. If we talk about the white rhino, there are only the two rhinos are left in the world. They are the females. One there was the male. Now he is dead. But we make the, you can see the kind of the test tube baby for that. Now we have saved that white rhino from the extinct. If you watch the jungly movie, you have the idea about the you can say the trade or the business of the elephant tusk. So how much it is the high price in the foreign market. Then you have heard about the how they used to do the business of the turtles and the other creatures of the this planet. If we talk about the wildlife animals, we talk about the birds, if we talk about the marine animals, they used to kill them and they used to sell it in the foreign markets for getting the money. So in this case, what we have to learn about the what the points we have to cover in this first segment of the video: biodiversity and the biological diversity. At which place you find different kind of forest, the diversity and the biological diversity, that the flora and flora of India. So what kind of forests we find and what kind of importance we have, that we're going to learn it. The vanishing of the forest, we vanishing the forest, first case you can take it for the agriculture, later on for the development, later on for the, you can say, the construction of the roads or the building of the railway tracks, and for the settling of the human settlement. So we're cutting the forest like at a very faster level, so that we can go to see it. Then for the Asiatic cheetah, where did they go? We don't know where they went. So we can say that because of hunting or because of the trade, they become the extinct. Now, are the colonial forest policies to be blamed? Yes, somehow we can say that, because earlier the people used to come for the pleasure to hunting this animals. So now, like earlier, it was like free. They used to come at freely and they used to hunt the animals. But now there are the restrictions. There are the laws. If you kill any of the wild animals, you will punish by the law. If you recall, I will give you the one incident when Salman Khan was doing the shooting of one of the movie. So he used to kill the black buck. So for that, till now he is who used to going in the jail for many times. He has to appear in the court, but actually he used to kill the black buck, or he used to hunt the black buck for the pleasure. So such type of crime, you do not have to do it, because you have to save the wild animals. If you save the wild animals, so we can see these wild animals, and our future generation can also see these wild animals. No, if we can't save this wild animals, so they are on the verge of that, they become the extinct, just like the dinosaur. We are not able to see the dinosaur nowadays. Like, we are now taking so much of interest to seeing the dinosaur, but now we are seeing only in the movies rather than the into the reality. But if you want to see the wild animals, so we have to say them, and we had not given the, we do not have to put in the and that kind of condition that they are on the verge of the extinct. So starts from this forest and the wildlife resources. It starts from one story. Narak, my lord, You are the creator of the music in the world of the Lepkase, O Nark. My Lord, let me dedicate myself to you. So I am dedicated to the Lord that what I want. Let me gather your music from these springs. So they are now taking the music from the nature, the river, the mountain, the forest, the insects and the animals. Let me gather your the music from the sweet breeze and offer to you. Now, Lipak folk song from the northern part of the West Bengal. So this is the song of the from the West Bengal, but it is translated in the English. But the real song is in the Bengali. We share the planet and the billions of the other organisms living here. So we share this planet with the difference of the creature on this planet, starting from the microorganisms and bacteria, regions to the banyan trees. And the habitat we live in the has immense biodiversity. Yes, we find the immense biodiversity in our India. We the humans, along with all the living organisms, from the complex web of ecological system in which we are not only the part of, so we are not only part and very much dependent on the system of our own existence. If you recall from the class 7, you have read in the environment about the ecosystem and about the biosphere that in the ecosystem there we are the we are in the nearby the surrounding, we are interdependent on each other. We are dependent on the plants, we are dependent on animals, animals also depend on the plants and on the humans. If we talk about the biosphere where the air, the humans, with the animals, the land and the water meet together, they become the biosphere. If you recall from that definition, so that we are dependent on each other, we are not, we can't say that that we are completely dependent, we are interdependent on each other. So for the example, the plants and the animals and the microorganisms recreate the quality of air we breathe. So they recreate the quality of the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the soil we produce our food, without which we cannot survive. So forests play a key role in the ecological system, as these are also the primary producer now on which all the other living beings depended. Now come towards the first topic of this, biodiversity or the biological diversity, immensely rich in the wildlife and cultivated the species, diverse in the form and the function but closely integrated in the system through the multiple network of interdependence. Now they are interdependent on each other. How? Biodiversity and the biological diversity is the immensely rich in the wildlife. So they are rich in the wildlife animals and the cultivated spices, the different kind of spices we find it over there. Diverse in the form and the function but closely integrated in the system through the multiple network of interdependence. Now the flora and flora of India, if you look around, you will be able to find there are the some animals and the plants which are unique in their own way. Yes, if you find in the Gujarat, so there are the you can say find the Asiatic lion or the Gir lions. In fact, India is one of the world richest country in terms of the vast area of the biological diversity. Yes, we are in the one of the best in the flora and flora of the biodiversity. This is possibly twice or three's number yet to be discovered. You have already studied in detail about the extent and the variety of the forest and the wildlife resources in India. You may have realized the importance of these resources in our daily life. This diverse flora and flora are so well integrated in our daily life that we take this for granted, but lately they are under the great stress. Now we enjoy all the flora of the dynasty, but they are under the great danger, okay, the stress, because nowadays we are doing the most of the, you can say, the deforestation. We are killing number of the animals and we are not planting the number of the plants. For this the campaigns were going on, but lately they are under the great stress, mainly due to the insensitivity of our environment. Some estimates suggest that at least 10% of Indian recorded wild flora and 20% of the mammals are on the threatened list. Now think about it, 10% of the India recorded the wild flora, they are on the verge of extinct, and the 20% of the mammals, they are under the threat. Means they are also on the verge of the extinct. Many of this could be, say, categorized as the critical. This is on the verge of extinct, which I already said, which is on the verge of the extinct, like the cheetah, pink-headed duck, mountain quail, forest spotted owlet, the plants like the matka, inside a wild variety of maua, and the Hubaradai Happant Neura, a species of grass, spices of grass. In fact, no one can say how many spices may have already been lost. We don't know how many are going to be extinct, and some of the species we have already lost. We don't know when they were lost. Then today we only talk about the larger, the more visible animal plants that have become extinct. But what about the smaller animals like the insect and the plants? So vanishing forest. I already said the number of we are doing the number of the deforestation by which number of the forests are vanishing. In the earlier also I explained you about that, like by doing the agriculture, for constructing the road, for building up the railway tracks, for settling of the human settlement, we cut the forest. So the dimension of the deforestation in India are staggering, means they're cutting the tree at the very faster rate. The forest and the trees cover in the country estimated is 79.42 million hectare, with the is the 24.16 percentage of the total geographical area. Dense forest from 12.2 percentage, open forest 9.14 percentage, and the mangrove was 0.14 percentage. According to the state of forest report 2015, dense forest covers the increase by 3775 square kilometers since 2013. However, this apparent increase in the forest cover is due to the conservation measures, because there are the number of the campaigns and the plans are going on that we have to save our forests, we have to save our wild animals, we have to save our biodiversity and the biological life of the plants and animals. So this covered due to the conservation measures, management, intervention, plantation, etc. by the different agencies. Here the government sector as well as the private sector and the different of the NGOs, they started the campaign to save the forest, to save the wild animals, to save the mammals, and we have to save this planet. If we not save this planet, so none of the creature of this planet can live on this planet. So especially we have to save our environment, this planet, the forest, the animals, whether we talk about the wild or the domestic, if we talk about the birds and the mammals. So let's how the understand the different categories accepting the plants and animal and species based on the International Union for the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. They used to ask you in this the MCQ or maybe the 1 mark question, what is the full form of and what is the work of IUCN. So you have to write that International Union for the Conservation of Nature and the Natural Resource. The work of this, first we talked about the normal species. The normal species whose population level are considered to be normal for the survey, such as the cattle, cell, pine, rodent, etc. Now endangered species, now they are on the verge of going to be extinct. These are the species which are in the danger of the extinct. This survival for the such species is difficult if the negative factor that have to lead to a decline in their population continues to operate. The example of such species are the black buck, which I already give you the example of the Salman Khan that used to kill the black buck, crocodile, Indian wild ass, Indian rhino, lion-tailed macaw, sangai, brown anther deer in the Manipur, etc. Now, vulnerable species, not a species. Now they are also and they are going to be enriched. They are not on the verge of the enriched. They are going to be enriched. There is a species whose population has declined to the level from where it is likely to move into the enriched category, which I always said they are likely to be going to be extinct in the near future if the negative factor continue to operate. The example of such species are blue sheep, Asiatic elephant, Gangetic dolphin, and etc. Now the rare species. Now where the other the species were banned, we don't know. We don't find any kind of result of there, but the some of were the lost. So species with a small population, many move into the enriched and in the vulnerable category. Where the negative factor affected them continue to operate. The example of such species are the Himalayan brown bear, wild Asiatic buffalo, desert fox and hornbill. Now endemic species, these are the species which are only found in the some particular, we don't find everywhere, but we used to find in some particular area, usually associated by the nature or the geographical barriers. Examples such species are the Andaman tail, Nicobar pigeon, Andaman wild pig, Mithun in the Arunachal Pradesh, Mithun now extinct with now the you can just say the animals which are going to be not going to be they are already extinct. These are the species which are not found later. Search for known as likely area where they may occur. Species may be extinct from the local area, region, country, continent, or from the entire earth. So the examples are Asiatic cheetah, pink-head duck. Now come towards the next topic, Asiatic cheetah. Where did they go? Nobody knows where did they go. The world forest fastest land mammal, the cheetah, is a unique and the specialized member of the cat family and can move at the speed of 112 km per hour. The cheetah is often mistaken for a leopard. Yes, number of the people used to mistake it as the leopard. Its distinguishing mark are the long teardrop-shaped lines on each side of the nose from the corner of its eyes to its mouth. Now, what is the specific that each side of the nose and the corner of its eyes to the mouth. Prior to the 20th century, cheetahs were widely distributed throughout the Africa and the Asia. Today, the Asian cheetah is nearly extinct due to a decline of available habitat and prey. This species was declared extinct in the India long back in 1950. Think about it. In 1952, just after our independence, we didn't find this Asiatic cheetah. They are also on the verge of the extinct. So what are the negative factors that cause such fearful depletion of flora and fauna of India? If you look around, you will be able to find out how we have transformed the nature into a resource. So you can see a few extinct rare endangered species. This is the picture and it is written over the name. The species which are going to be endangered that are the Heterometus carenis endemic to the Karnataka. Then the Ochandra Travancore Gamble Caucasus endemic to the southwestern Ghat used in the mat and the basket making. This we use in the basket making. Then other one is given the Embalica ribs with the immature fruits, a threatened medical climber, a resource obtained directly and indirectly from the forest wildlife, wood, barks, leaves, rubber, medicine, dyes, food, fuel, fodder, manure, etc. So it is we ourselves who have depleted the forest and the wildlife. The greatest damage inflicted on the Indian forest was during the colonial period due to the expansion of which I already explained due to the expansion or due to the lining up the railway tracks, the railways, the agriculture, the commercial and the scientific forestry and the mining activation. Even after the independence, agriculture expansion continued to be one of the major causes of the depletion of forest resources. Between 1951 and 1980s, according to the Forest Survey of India, over 26,200 square kilometer of the forest area was converted into the agricultural land. Now, this was the area were converted into the agricultural land to the all over the India, substantially part of the tribal belts, especially in the northeastern and the central India, have been deforested or degraded by shifting the cultivation, that is Zoom, a type of slash or the burn agriculture. Are colonial forest policies to be blamed? Are the colonial forests to be blamed? I think yes, we can blame them because of them number of the spices and number of the species they were on the verge of the extinct. Number were going to be where they lost we don't know. And if we find the number of the forest in our area, so that number of the forest now they are completely vanished, they're completely depleting. We don't find such kind of spices in the different parts of the India. So some of the environmental activists say that the promotion of the few favored species in many parts of the India have been carried through the unequally termed the enrichment plantation, in which single commercial planted species was extensively planted and the other species were eliminated. For instance, thick monoculture has damaged the nature forest in South India and the chir pine in the Pinus Roxburghi plantation in the Himalayan have replaced the Himalayan oak, that is Quercus sp or the Rohendro forest. Now the large scale development projects have also contributed significantly. Now, for the making of the or for the implementation of the like you can say the big projects, we used to start cutting the trees or we used to start vanishing the forest for making of the big project. Like if you talk about, if you take the example of Delhi, in the Greater Noida, or if you heard about the Noida city center, they used to cut the number of the trees to make this that Noida city center. The large-scale development projects have also been contributed significantly in the loss of the forest since we've seen all the things since 1951. Over the 5,000 square kilometer of the forest was cleared for the River Valley project. Now think about it, for the River Valley project, they used to cut 5,000 square kilometer. Clearing of the forest is still continued with a project like Narmada Sagar project in the Madhya Pradesh, which would indicate the 40,000 hectares of the forest. Mining is the another important factor behind the deforestation. The mining is the another factor behind the deforestation. The Buxar Tiger Reserve in the West Bengal is seriously threatened by the ongoing dolomite mining. Now they were doing the mining works. So this also this biosphere, or you can say that this wildlife sanctuary also in the verge of the vanishing. It has distributed the natural habitat of many species. Now here you will find the many species and block the migration of route of the several others, including the great Indian elephant. Now come to the page number 17. Many factors and the environmentalists hold the view that the greatest degrading factor behind the depletion of forest resource are grazing and fuel food collection. Now the many forests and the environmentalists, what they did that the view of the greatest degrading the factor behind the depletion of the forest and the resource grazing means the population increase, the demand of using the natural resources also increase. So if you written over there, the resource are grazing and fuel food collection. Through this may have some substance in the argument, yet the fact remains that a substantial part of the fuel for the demand met of lopping rather than the by the filling the entire trees. So the forest ecosystem are repository of some of the country's most vulnerable forest products, minerals and the other resources that meet the demand of the rapidly expanding industrial urban economy. So the protected areas thus mean the different things of the different people, and therein lies the fertile ground for the conflicts. Now to talk about the Himalayan yew and trouble. This was is the topic. The Himalayan yew, that name is toxic Valachina, is the medical plant found in the various part of the Himachal Pradesh and the Arunachal Pradesh towards the northeastern. A chemical compound called the Taxol is extracted from the bark, needles and twigs and rooted in the trees, and it has been successfully used to treat the cancer. So it is this tree is useful to treating the cancer or to treating the patient of the cancer. This drug is now the biggest selling anti-cancer drug in the world. The species is under the great threat due to the over exploitation. For like now the people are using, like the people are using now you can say for this particular tree they are using they used it overused it, and they used to exploit it in such a way that in the last one decade, like almost as you can say the 10 years, thousands of yew trees have dried up in the various part of Himachal Pradesh and the Arunachal Pradesh. So the habitat destruction, hunting, poaching, over-exploitation, environmental pollution, poisoning and the forest fire are the factors which have led to the decline in the India's biodiversity. Other important causes of the environment destruction are the unequal access, inequitable consumption of resources, and different sharing of responsibility for the environmental well-being. Overpopulation in the third world countries is often cited as the cause of the environmental degradation. However, the average American consumes 40 times more resources than the average Somalian. So the Indian used to like not the Indian, most of the Asian countries people used to eat rather than the Somalian people. Similarly, sorry, Americans, not the we are talking about the Asians. American consume 40 times more than the resources than the average Somalian. Somalia you will found in the Africa. So, similarly, the richest 5% of Indian society probably cause more ecological damage because of the amount they consume. Then, now you can see this tribal guy using the bamboo, this side, and sapling in the nuts at the Mukhlai near the Silent Valley. Tribal women selling the minor to the forest produce. Leaf litter collection by the woman flow. So this side you can see the different areas of the India where the women used to collect this product. Then the poorest 25 percentage of the farmer shares minimum responsibility for the environmental well-being. This question is who is consuming what and what, where, how much. So each and every person, where we can say that the people who used to live in the forest area, they used to enjoy much of the environment rather than we talk about the people who used to live in the urban areas. So we can say the more the people, those who live in this area, they can enjoy the most rather than we talk about the people who used to live in the urban areas. So we can say that equally, we can't say that all the person are using the particular things, but it used by most of the people. If we talk about the biological, if we talk about the forest, if we talk about the environment pollution, if we talk about the animals, if we talk about the plants and the many things, so it is used by all. Now they give you the one more interesting fact that do you know over the half of the India's natural forests are gone and one third of its wetland dried out. Now think of it, one third of its wetland drained out and the natural forests are gone. 70% of its surface water bodies are polluted. That you have the idea if you talk about the Yamuna, Ganga, Narmada, all these water are very much polluted. 40% of the mangroves wiped out. Now the 40% of the mangrove wiped out. And with the continue hunting, the trade of the wild animals and commercially valuable plants and the thousand of the plants and the animals species are heading towards the extinct. The destruction of the forest and the wildlife is not just the biological issue. Now, it's not just the biological issue. The biological issue is the strong correlated with the loss of the cultural diversity. Such losses have increasingly marginalized and improvised in many indigenous you will find in the many parts of the India and other forest dependent communities who directly depend on the various components such as the forest, the wildlife for the food, drink, medicine, culture, spiritual, etc. Within the poor, women are affected more than the men. Not those are the people are poor, women are more affected than the men. In many societies, women bear the major responsibility for the collection of fuel, fodder, water, and other basic substance needs. As these resources are depleted, the degree of the woman increase, and sometimes they have to walk for more than 10 kilometers to collect this resources. This causes a serious health problem of the woman and negligence of the home and the children because of the increase of the hours of work, which often has a serious social implications. The indirect impact of the degradation, such as serve the drought or they show the deforestation and the induce of the floods. Every year you find the floods in the India also hit the poor and the hardest. Now, by the you can say the nature destruction or by the act of the nature, most of the problems is for most of the problems which are borne by or you can say the bear by the only the poor people. In this case, is the direct outcome of the environmental destruction. This is we call it as a bear out of the destruction. Therefore, the forest and the wildlife are the vital to the quality of the life and environment the subcontinent. So it is the imperative to adapt this sound forest and the wildlife conservation strategy. So far, what we have discussed in the first part of the video about how we have to save the forest and the wildlife resources by like till now in this first segment of the video we discuss about only the problem by the colonial by the problems of the local people by the environmental by cutting the forest for the agriculture, for the human settlement, for the building the up the projects, for making the buildings, for setting up the human settlement, for considering routes. All such things are the factor by which you can say for the development we vanished such things. If you talk about the forest, if you talk about the wildlife animals also, like for the you can say for the art purpose, for the business purpose, for the medical purpose, number of the things were there, they are on the verge of the extinct, or number of the things were the loss. So how we have to save them, what are the campaigns we have to start, and what how can we save this particular species and the species on the verge of the extinct. So all other things we're going to learn in the second segment of this video. So in the first segment of the video, what I have covered, the biodiversity of the biological diversity, flora and flora of India, vanishing forests, Asiatic cheetah, where do they go, are the colonial forest policies to be blamed? Yes, we can blame it. And the Himalayan you in trouble. And later on we can discuss about this 2 point in the next segment of the video. I hope you like this video. Thank you.